Hey guys, just trying to fix some crazy reverb. Okay, that should be fine now. So let's go ahead and turn some music on. Are you guys a fan of Lofi beats? Oh, quarantine life is going great, man. Thanks for asking. All I've been doing is working out and doing airsoft videos. So it's pretty much the life. How are you guys doing? I hope you guys are doing well, staying safe, staying clean. If you guys still have your job, hopefully you guys still have that. You know, that's always a good good use of time. Actually, I just got a Inferno back, one of the Wolverine ones, and I just dropped it into my VFC Mark 18 body here. This I ran as a AEG, in fact, a stock AEG for a long time. And then I'm just like, you know what, I'm just going to make myself a little uncomfortable, and we're just going to drop an HPA inside of there. So, not to say that I hate HPA, it's just I don't run it very often. So if I'm using a platform that I'm more comfortable with, maybe I'll use it a little bit more. I prefer AEGs because they're just a little bit more basic. As a tech, I have a little bit more experience with them, so that's why I prefer AEGs over HPA. But if it's in my trusty and beloved Mark 18, maybe I'll use HPA a little more. For my go-to AEGs, I'm going to be trying to main the MCX for my outdoor stuff. I will hit up that in a minute. And then for indoors, one of the Elite MP5s. This is the A4 model, so it's the full-size stock. And I actually fitted a Midwest Industries in there. I actually did not fit it. I just took it to the store and they put it right on there for me. So there was really nothing to modify, and it's solid. I absolutely love how rock solid it is. There's no movement, no wobble at all. So if you guys have the MP5 and you want any sort of new rail systems, since the handguard look like this, since you don't really have an option to put flashlights or shit on here, I just went with the Midwest Industries. That. Yeah, the stock handguard is garbage. So the MCX, it's a little different from what is stock. I have the stock length handguard on here, but it's actually super easy to remove. In fact, drop that. And that's easy for changing rail systems. So again, Midwest Industries, I really like them. I've got their aftermarket 12.5-inch rail system that slides into place. And I say that, but it gets stuck. There we go. And again, it's meant for real firearms. So it's solid, it's really well built, and it's almost a little sturdier than the stock 10-inch one. So the MCX is designed to be mission adaptive. That's what SIG designed the MCX for. So being able to change out aftermarket rail systems, aftermarket stock systems. This is actually not the one that would be coming with it. This one I bought through SIG specifically, and I do have to wear it in a little bit. Here we go. But it folds off to the side like that. So it's something that's a little bit more user-friendly compared to the collapsible one. This one has full adjustments as well. The only issue is that this one is $180, so really expensive. Same with the rail system here, $180, so very expensive. But for a $450 rifle, extra $180 really shouldn't be too much more outside of the price range. And then I have it externally wired with a PEC box. I do hope to get one of the Titan Power lithium ions inside of here, but that's going to be for the future when I get a little bit more cash. But otherwise, I love the MCX as it is right now. Well, sorry to hear that you traded off your MP5 SD6. The competition ones are really, really solid. If you know Carl down at the Airsoft Arena, he actually has the SD6, and I put a Polar Star jack in it for him, and he has it super quieted. He has the suppressor foam filled, and he has a tracer unit in there, so super quiet. It's actually really awesome. He ran it stock as an AEG for several years, and they actually perform really, really awesome. So, hey, what do you plan on getting instead of the SD6? You gotta have a little bit of spare cash now. The BLUs are actually pretty decent. I'm pretty biased, actually. I have 4 Elite Force Glocks. My camera actually didn't work, but I'm using my laptop as the live stream system. But if we had my good camera, you could actually see all my Glocks. So I have the Elite Force 19X. I'm working on the 19 Gen 3, the 17 Gen 4 green gas, and the 17 Gen 4 CO2. So I have 4 of the Elite Force Glocks. I don't have any of the Wheat Tech. I think they're trash. I don't have any of the Tokyo Marui ones because I don't want to put any extra money into upgrading it, since it's going to have the plastic slide, but I go for like the base model. So I'm really not into that whole aftermarket build up type of thing. I really just am looking for pistols that are just good to go out of the box. The BLUs, some of the more recent ones are going to be VFC spec. So they're going to take the aftermarket Elite Force Glock parts. This one, actually, I hear the rose gold barrel. This is from the EMG BLU series. So this is one of their VFC spec ones that will fit on the Glocks. Just be careful with the BLUs. Try to get the one that is going to be VFC spec. VFC I really like because they do have some better quality control standards, and that's just my opinion. Of course, you're welcome to do your research, pick up whatever looks best for you. Just suggesting the VFC ones. So with the magazines, the Wiis and the Tokyo Maruis will work in a VFC, but it doesn't exactly line up. Like the release valve back here is not in the exact same spot, and the valve here is going to meet up with this right here. So the Wii and the Tokyo Maruis are slightly out of spec with that alignment there. So they're not, the Wii and the Tokyo Maruis are not going to put enough gas into the slide and the nozzle assembly in order to get your max velocity and your max air efficiency. So while they do work, they're pretty close for alignment. They're not exact. So with the BLUs, you can fit the VFC Elite Force slide on the VFC spec frame for the BLU, because the frame specs are going to be slightly different between the Elite Force, the VFC, the GHK, the Wii, the Tokyo Maruis, the HFC, I think is the other one, and there's a Stark Arms. Stark Arms, if I remember correctly, are going to be closer to Tokyo Marui spec. All the alignments are slightly different. They're off spec by just enough from each other. KWA is nice with some of their newer ones. Their older gen stuff, I have received a shipment of their ATPs, and they're really weird because the ATPs were advertised as the Glock trainer platforms, but are actually more like a 45, the HK45s, in fit and shape. So they're not really Glock-like, which was really confusing for the law enforcement departments that we were working with for getting parts for their training replicas. But since we have the Elite Force ones, and actually, if you guys have not seen my other video with myself and Brady, he has an Elite Force 19X, and he has a real one. I have Elite Force 19 Gen 3, and I have the real one. We took a micrometer, the tool that measures within thousandths, or in some case hundredths of thousandths of an inch, and the biggest difference between the real and the Airsoft one, in fact, hey, got my real one down here. So, chamber check. You guys see that? All good there. So pistol is safe. So the difference between the real one and the Airsoft one is only like 1/100th of an inch. Dimension same between the real one and the Airsoft one, like the exact same measurement. It is insane exactly how close the Elite Force ones are to the real ones. It's just mind-blowing that they're that close. Put this back off to the side. The gas efficiency on the 19X is really, really solid. If you actually compare the, hit myself. If you compare the recoil spring of the 19X to the CO2 17, they're the exact same, except for this little part here, which actually is the hop-up adjustment. But other than that, the recoil spring here is the exact same between the CO2 17 and the green gas 19X. So I actually use the CO2 magazines on my 19X, and I've had zero issues with them. Like, it is amazing how well they work on CO2. Now, using the green gas ones on the green gas 17 and the green gas 19, they use a little bit more basic of a recoil spring. So this is not something that I personally would trust using CO2 on. There's really not a whole lot of support to catch the velocity of that slide going back and catching the next BB and being semi-automatic. So CO2, 19X, good. CO2 on 19, bad in layman's terms. Cheers. Oh, actually, with the 18C, the gas efficiency is terrible. Like, it is garbage. The extended magazines actually work better on a regular semi-automatic 17 or 19 better than the 18Cs. Like, we were getting 3/4 of the way through a magazine, a 50-round magazine on the 18C on semi-automatic. Like, we're pausing between shots. So fire, 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 and only getting 3/4 of a magazine. It was really weird. But if we, in the same situation, on the same day, same ambient temperature, same feeling technique, trying it multiple times, we actually got through a mag and a quarter with the extended magazine on a regular 17. So for the efficiency there, not really sure what's happening. My best guess is because of the structure alignment for that full auto selector, because it needs to sit a little loose for that switch. My thinking is that there's a little bit more give between material for gas to leak out of, so that's why it's not nearly as efficient. So with the 19X, yeah, it is a 19 length slide compared to a 17. But the frame of the 19X is a full size. So it's the exact same height and width as a regular 17. The 19X compared to the 19 is much, much shorter. Hey, for me having this Corona, I don't feel bad at all. Now getting the virus Corona, that's probably gonna suck, but I'm gonna make sure I don't confuse myself. I think your other question was, can you HPA tap the VFC magazines? Yes, there is a company called Tap Ninja or Ninja Tap. Russia Tap? Something, I forget. Shoot. But it's the, yes, CQB Russian. That's exactly it. They make multiple spec of the HPA hose adapters to go on the bottom of magazines. So you probably could HPA tap one of the extended magazines to fit with like a regular 17 or something like that. If you go on eVic, there's a drum magazine from, I forget which company it is, but it's a drum magazine and it's green gas, and you can also get some that are going to be HPA tapped as well. So I think if you were to go with an HPA tapped magazine system, go with something that's going to hold more rounds. So that way you're not stuck having to sit there for 50 rounds and then swap a new one and then swap the hose and keep firing. Because if I think about what you're doing, if you're going to go with a HPA tapped magazine, you're probably going to need as many rounds as possible. It's going to be a little inconvenient if you have to swap that hose too often. I think it's the AW Custom drum magazine, which that's actually a WeTech. If I remember correctly, they have some that are going to be VFC spec. So that should help, especially if you're getting the Elite Force one specifically. Otherwise, if you're getting the BLU, those, again, they might have a couple models of the BLUs. You should be able to tell if it's a VFC spec one or a Tokyo Marui WeTech spec one. So you should be all good with that. Keep the questions coming, guys. I enjoy this. I was having a kind of bad day having to respond to some shitty Amazon customers, but you guys turn this around. Really appreciate it. Mm-hmm. Where was I going to go with that? Oh, yeah. KWA, when I went to their booth at SHOT Show, they were in the middle of, because they just showcased it. It's their Gen 2 for their gas blowback rifles. It's their newest addition to where the bolt is going to be more efficient. The magazines are going to take CO2, and they made another third major change to the system where they're completely redesigning how their gas blowback rifles are going to work. And I actually took the owner to the KWA booth, since I was there just for media, taking pictures, stuff like that. And he was actually surprised because the AEG 3s from KWA, the AEG ones are actually recoiling as much as their newer gas blowback ones. So I actually have a AEG 3 behind the RPK. This guy here is a AEG 3 base, but it has a Block 2 Daniel Defense rail system on here. So this I use more as a farther range system. This is my original, very first airsoft rifle. So I don't use it anymore. I keep it just for sentiment. That's clean. So yeah, and actually going back to the M4 mags, you can probably check out maybe some of the VFC ones. I know overseas, I think a year ago, or maybe it's been 6 months now, something like that. But overseas, they've had their 416A5 gas blowback system for a full-length rifle. And usually the rule of thumb is that it usually takes a year, year and a half for what is available on the Asian market over on Red Wolf, stuff like that, to make it over to the US. So all of the airsoft Glocks that you see being advertised or showcased by Airsoft Mike, he's the guy that I usually watch for the overseas European market stuff. And I usually gauge a year, year and a half before we'll see it over here. And I'm actually really disappointed that we haven't seen any of the Elite Force Glock 42s on the market yet. I did hear a little bit about those at SHOT Show, but that was during a private conversation. So not something I think I can share with you guys. If the gas blowback rifle was working, yes, we would take the drum magazine. Just because of how our training system works, we need the rifle to be in working condition. We don't want to put any sort of extra time into fixing or maintaining rifles. It's kind of the exact same ideology with used cars, where it's almost an immediate flip. Like maybe we'll wipe down the windshield, something like that. Maybe polish the body just to make sure it's all looking good. Like I get some that have mud all along the rail systems and on the body for some reason. Like, I don't know if guys are swimming in swamps with their rifles or something like that, but some come in dirty. So we want to put as little time and effort into the rifles that we get traded in, so it keeps the cost down for the second owner or even the third owner of used guns. Some of the Echo 1s are pretty good. It kind of fits within a certain budget level that you have. Like the nicer, the higher end stuff is going to be more expensive because of better internal parts, stuff like that. I'm usually not someone that likes to go pretty cheap. If we're sitting around the $150, $180 price range, I would normally suggest a G&G. Now I know there's going to be some what look to be halfway decent Lancer Tacticals, Echo 1s, some basic Falcons. While those are good, even SHS or like there's even the Matrix brands ones that you can get pretty cheap that look pretty good. You know, I personally would stick with a G&G, seeing about that price range. In all the years G&G's been around, they've done very good to make very decent and reliable platforms that sit within that price range. Now, once we start going into that $200 to $250 price range, then there is a little bit more range as far as brands and stuff like that. Yeah, they do. Echo 1 does make, or no, you're talking about Polar Star. Yeah, Polar Star does make some good HPA systems. I'm personally more preferable for Wolverine, but I do definitely want to check out the Kythera. That is a system that definitely has my interest. I don't see many people around here running around with Mancraft. Well, to be fair though, Mancraft is a European market sniper HPA system. So here in the US, Wolverine kind of has that covered. Yeah, for complete uppers, that's really not something that a whole lot of brands are going to do. Again, I keep going back to KBUA. KBUA does have some aftermarket uppers with their newest AEG 3s and 2.5s. That's going to be the same idea with the MCX, where it's supposed to be mission adaptive, to where you can change it to be an indoor length system or an outdoor length system. You do have to be a little careful though if you get a shorter barrel system and then try to change it to a longer length. Once you start lengthening the inner barrel, that is going to create better airflow and efficiency for that BB to travel. So a good example is with the ARP-9s. The ARP-9s have a shorter barrel system, maybe something like this, and they're cranking out about 330 feet per second. But I've had several customers that changed to a longer, to like an 18 or 19 inch length inner barrel, and that actually cranks up the velocity up to 500 something. Like having that cushion of air just allow that BB to catch up to speed in a confined space for longer just helps get that BB up to speed. So it's really amazing, those ARP-9s. Crytek, that's another one. Crytek does have different uppers. Although if you are not too familiar with some of our personal opinions, we're not huge fans of Crytek's. Now keep in mind, please keep in mind that I owned one of the Crytek's. In fact, that was one of my primary guns for the longest while. It was an Alpha CRB. The lower had cracked, so I changed it to a foliage green. So I wish I still had pictures. I think I have one or two pictures left of it, but it was a really funky color where it was just green and black accents. But Crytek, since I got my CRB, they've, in my personal opinion, please take that with a grain of salt, have lowered their quality control standards. They've focused on pushing quantity instead of the original quality that they were originally putting out. So myself, I was a little disappointed, especially when I started at the Airsoft Headquarters. There was just a huge rush of Crytek guns that need to be fixed and maintained, and it was just kind of overwhelming just how much of Crytek I would see broken. So I think they've gotten a little better. I have not seen Crytek in a long, long time come through the store. So either everyone that's in the Milwaukee, Waukesha area has bought all the Cryteks that they want, or they're getting a little better. Keep that in mind. With the lack of range, that may have been from lack of air efficiency, but that happens in some rifles. Pros and cons of a tight bore versus a wide bore. Actually, let me make sure I have all this together. You guys are sidetracking me. Making sure there's no leaks. Cool. A tight bore definitely is going to help with getting the best accuracy and consistency, as well as maximizing air efficiency of a BB. However, you don't want to go too tight of bore in a lot of cases. In some cases, a super tight bore is pretty good. Like the AEG3 that I showed you before, that has a 6.00 inner barrel in it. Now, I haven't been able to actually test it out or actually take it anywhere to use because everything's been closed down now with that coronavirus. So, haven't really had a chance to play around with it. Actually, that may be a video. That may be a YouTube video idea. But a tight bore, the idea is that you are making the BB not wobble around as much, especially when it's a 6.08 or higher. There's a lot of side-to-side movement of that BB as it travels through that inner barrel. The tighter barrel minimizes that side-to-side wobble. So that's how you get more consistency. However, with AEGs, what people don't really realize is that what you want to do is you want to match as close as possible the air volume of your cylinder to your inner barrel, and that is to make the air as efficient as possible. Because what happens is if you have undervoluming, which is where the inner barrel volume is larger than the cylinder volume, there's not enough air to continue to push that BB out of the inner barrel, so it needs more air. Where does it get more air? It comes through the front of the inner barrel, pushes against the BB as it's trying to push its way out in order to fill that vacuum. And then if you overvolume, there's too much back pressure of air behind the BB as it passes through the inner barrel, and that's where you get those inefficiencies. That is really, really stuck. I'm gonna have to keep playing around with that. Come here. So a 6.03 is kind of a good in between for a tight bore inner barrel. Now a wide bore, I have not been able to test it, but the theory is that you would over volume it specifically. A wide bore is generally used with HPA systems like Polar Stars or with Wolverines or with Titmans. The amped guys were actually very famous for using wide bore inner barrels with their Titman setups. The idea is that you would over volume the inner barrel so that the BB is riding a cushion of air the entire length of the inner barrel. And that is how it's supposed to make it accurate and efficient. I did not use a wide bore inner barrel, so I can't tell you if that really works or at all. Hey, you get out of here. My roommate wanted to send you guys a message. My favorite Glock is probably the CO2 one, the one that still has the orange tip. Reason being is that there's a lot of elitists or professional wannabes hanging around the Milwaukee area that go to events that I go to. So it's really kind of funny to watch in close quarters as I shoot these dudes with something that has an orange tip and just watch them get really butthurt over it. So like, that's not Milsim approved. That's not real world type of stuff. Blah. I'm like, well, it's airsoft. I still shot you with it. Oh, the CO2 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. 17. So this guy right here. And with your, since the whole reason that we're doing this live stream is for pistol cleaning, for the release valve on the very back of the magazines, make sure that you're using a lot of silicone oil in order to clean that out. This one specifically had a lot of gunk in it, so just using oil and pressing down on it, make sure it clears everything out, so that makes it as easy as possible for that knocker to release as much gas as possible. Because I know this one was really, really, really stiff. Ryan, are you a Speed QB player? Is that why it's bright red? Or do you just like to piss people off? I have actually not seen the new Action Army Ruger Mark IIs. And I don't think it's a real Ruger, since Rugers, correct me if I'm wrong, are a single stack magazine. And if it takes Tokamarui Glock mags, they're double stacked. So I'll look into it. I definitely will. Which channel did you see that? Okay, fair enough, Ryan. Fair enough. So what makes a meme softer? A meme softer? Let's just work on this one. You know, funny story. Gotta make sure I say your name right. Matthias, I think. So a funny story with wall shooting is, it was the end of the day, and I was getting really ticked off at one of the opposing players, and so I actually shot the wall that he was coming out of, because I could see that it was this guy that I was absolutely having all this trouble with and just couldn't sting him at all. So I could see him about to come around the corner, and I start to light up the wall that's right next to him. And I just spray the wall as fast as I could, just scaring the shit out of him, making him jump back so I can flank around, go support hand, and hit him through the cracks while he was trying to be right-hand dominant. And so before I could do that, he actually is shouting, "No overshooting," which I had to stop and call bullshit, because that's not overshooting if you're shooting the wall, right? Or am I still in the wrong there? Okay, Action Army Facebook page. I will check it out. This is the one I need to check. That is a fair point. It depends on who is reffing. But hey, it was the last game of the day, so I was cool with letting it be. I didn't get yelled at. The ref wasn't there. He was on the other end of the field. But after getting called out for overshooting a wall, I didn't want to deal with anything the rest of the day. There's a little bit left in there as well. So my 19 is clean. The magazines are maintained. Hit them with a little bit of that gas juice so that the O-rings are pressurized. The minimum engagement distance is actually required by their insurance policy. So that's why they have the 350 limit and that 10-foot minimum engagement. Because if we actually wanted to go 0 minimum engagement, I asked about this, it would have to be like 280 feet per second for the highest velocity, which I don't think anyone really wants to deal with. So I'm personally okay with the 10-foot MED. So 19 meg is done. Now, I don't think it's 280 specifically, but it's significantly lower than that 350 mark. It's almost like we're playing over in Asia or something with 280. Yeah, people absolutely do. They get on that edge of that 10-foot, maybe a little closer than 10 feet, still shoot you. I think it's all really situational. There's a lot of beginner players that will watch the safety briefing. They'll understand all the rules that the refs give them. But if you scare them just right, they're going to instinctively shoot, which I think is understandable. But it's those wannabe professional players that really ride that 10-foot rule. And that's another thing with the 350 is that a lot of people would need to get their stuff below 350, so they would need to take it to ATEC. I hear some leakage. In order to get it below that 280 mark, I'm just going to keep using 280 as the example. Hear a little bit of gas leak there. Hey. Well, I'm thinking, Philip, that it may be just needing some oil, because I don't want to have to run to the shop and get one of the rebuild kits. Now, when I say shop, I mean Airsoft Headquarters, the store. For the bang kill thing, like you're talking about behind the corner, I'm trying to read that. So you're saying when people peek not enough, or they instinctively know that you're back there and just say bang kill, which I've had kids on the other side of walls and will hear me or any other player shuffling behind the wall and will just yell bang kill, and then peek the head around, bang kill, like it's a question, like they're going to get off scot-free from that. Nah. Now you got to be aiming down sights. You have to bang kill me correctly. Got to bang me good, bro. Okay. I actually have used the Tokyo Marui Mark 23. It's really solid. I'm not really seeing a whole lot of more popularity with it. I'm thinking that people are going more for the Mavericks brand Mark 23 because it's the cheaper option. But Carl down at the Airsoft Arena has the Tokyo Marui one, and it's really, really cool. He likes it a lot. I think it shoots really, really well. We at the store are trying to we're trying to get in the Mavericks brand. So we're trying to get in his SSG 24s, his SSG 10A1s, his A2s, his SSP1, and his SSG 23 or SSP 23. Yeah, I hear you, Matthias. There's definitely points where you just want to let people know what you think of them. Definitely had those days, I feel you. But all you can really do is tell the referees and just be the bigger man about it. That's one of the hardest things. That's not really true. It's not the hardest, but one of the hard things is being the better man about the situation and letting the higher ups deal with them, like the refs. And if the refs don't deal with them, like I've seen at certain fields, then don't take things into your own hand because that just makes things way worse. Yes, oil is a temporary fix. What I'm hoping is that I'm not going to tighten down the base screws too tight here, 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 and here so that it allows the O-ring to suck in that oil and kind of get a little bit bigger. I will eventually get the O-ring completely replaced. But like I said, right now, I don't want to go into the shop and get the O-ring. In fact, right now, it really doesn't matter since we're not going anywhere. Cool, I don't have any gas in there. So just making it as temporary as possible. Why we don't bring in the Tokyo Marui high kappas is because between you and me, Ryan, there's a lot of people that actually want the Tokyo Maruis just fully kitted out with aftermarket parts, and that gets really, really expensive. If I have to order those in, that would be really, really expensive for a turnaround. So maybe for a base Tokyo Marui high kappa, but even then, I have some of the AW custom ones at the shop. They're really not as popular as I thought they would be. They're kind of more of the John Wicky looking ones, the Terran Tactical high kappas, or 2011s, I should say. We also brought in some of the AW custom. I think it was a red accent and a gold accented one. And those really haven't been selling. Those really aren't as popular as we thought they would. When did I start Airsoft? I actually started Airsoft when I was in the Boy Scouts 12 or 13 years ago. So I've been playing from 12 years to 4 years ago. So 8 years that I've been kind of casually playing Airsoft, you know, with friends in the backyard, with other Boy Scouts in the local park that we will stay at for whatever weekend a month that we're allowed to have it. And then I was playing casually up until my junior year of college, or really my third year. That's when I moved down to Milwaukee and I started going to UW Milwaukee. And that actually gave me access to working as a referee at the Airsoft Arena, which I did for probably 4 or 5 months. And then I got scouted. It's weird to use that term, but it's actually true. I was scouted to go from the arena as a referee to also working at the Airsoft Headquarters part-time as a retail cashier. So I started working at the arena and the Airsoft Headquarters for a short while. And while I was there, Brady was gone on vacation. Brady is one of the owners. There's 2 owners to the store. Brady is one of them. He's the other gentleman that you see in a lot of these videos that I do. And he actually went on vacation to go see his parents, but we had a lot of tech work that needed to be done. And while I wasn't officially a tech at that point, I was like, I'll just make life a little easier for him. I'll work on some of the guns that I know a good amount of what needs to be done. So I did the work because I did have experience doing tech work. You know, I've got my own setup here, so I've been working on my own guns and with my other friends' guns. So doing super basic stuff like adjusting motor height or changing one of the connectors or just a spring swap for one of the Krytacs, which have the quick change spring system. You know, just super, super basic stuff. I wasn't ripping and replacing stuff at that point. So I fixed the pile that we had, called all the customers. They all came by, picked their guns up while Brady was gone. And he comes back and first day, he walks in the store and he's like almost drained of energy. He's dreading to go back and do tech work. Like you can just see it in his body posture. Like, oh, fuck. All this tech work. All the tech work I gotta do, man. All right, here goes. And he comes back and he's like, Talon, what happened to the guns in back? I'm like, oh yeah, I did a couple while you were gone. He's like, really? You did some of the tech work? Like, yeah, it was easy. It was the simple stuff. He's like, huh? Show me what you got. It's kind of like the Rick and Morty episode where they have to do the music battle with the sons. Show me what you got. And so, yeah, we just sat down. We just did some tech work. And then from there on, I kind of grew pretty quickly to become one of the main technicians for the store. And so that's why from being a tech, I then became a retail manager and eventually left the arena to come work at the headquarters full time. And so from there, I started doing graphic design, all the advertising stuff like that. So that's all the basic Facebook, Instagram, and eventually led me to taking the YouTube channel, which you guys see me do right now. So it's kind of like my whole life through working at the headquarters or working for the arena and then the headquarters. Which you guys, if you don't know, the headquarters and the arena have a partnership. So the headquarters is the product or is the product distributor for the arena. So that's that relationship. Let me see what you guys have for questions. Yep, can't use the 40 mic. I actually still have scars from product testing when we first got the very first batch. So very, very powerful. And that was at the 100-foot minimum engagement suggested limit. So very powerful suckers. Are you guys going to carry the Bang 22s? Absolutely. as soon as we get a personal phone call from our rep at Airsoft Innovations. Where's that oil? Yeah, Airsoft Innovations. Sorry, guys, I've got the corona. I'm a little forgetful. So yeah, once we get a call from our rep saying that they've got him, we're going to bring him in. Good on you for working on custom high kappas, man. I can work on maintaining Glocks, but aftermarket stuff is not something I want to deal with. Thank you. I'm really glad that you watched the MCX video. Are you subscribed? I really would like some more subscribers, guys. Fingers crossed. Wow, really, we've been at it 57 minutes. This has been a lot of fun, guys, 57 minutes. But I've not done nearly as much work as I was hoping to do. So now we're going to start on the 19X. Oh, actually, really quick about the MCX. I don't know how to pronounce your name. Sorry, I'm not fluent. But have you seen the newest edition, which is the collapsing and the folding stock? Ooh, pretty cool. So you guys shoot your questions down below. I'll answer them as I kind of putz around with these. Yeah, the stock on there is absolutely real steel. Heckin' expensive. $180. So expensive, but so sexy. So sexy for on the MCX. For the wire, I'm assuming I did. If you go back and watch the video, yeah, the wire is out of the way. So I'm not interpreting what was said for the wire. I went back and watched the video a couple times. So I thought that it looked like the wire was out of the way. I made sure that the wire was out of the way. At least for me, it was out of the way. So I have no issues with the magazines fitting inside there. And I haven't taken it apart since I've done that video, other than swapping the stock out. It's actually one of my plans during this quarantine to go in there and rip the gearbox apart. The motor, if I'm running it on full auto or for long periods of time, it actually gets really, really hot. So that is going to be a misalignment issue with the gears. So I'm going to go in there and do a shim job. So it's going to be the next time I crack it open. Where do you get Midwest rails on the black market? Are they just reproductions? No, you cannot trade just a lower. There has to be an upper, so it has to be in full working condition to where another player that wanted to buy it off the shelf was able to, or would be able to stick a mag in and just use it on the field without any issues. Ryan, answering your question, if you could bring any new game models, any new game models / scenarios to the arena, what would they be? I personally would love to run one of the Wild West games, like we saw with Swamp Sniper on Ballahack, how he did his Wild West games. That one I thought was really, really, really cool. And with the Elite Force, the Wild Card, and the Smoke Wagon, the more realistic 6-shooters, the ones that actually open from the side, I think those would be excellent options for a new game scenario. And what's really unique, I don't think that many people realize this, but with revolvers, because they're limited by their physical systems for loading 6 individual shells in and having to work a hammer, or in some cases they're double action, it really limits the level of technique and overall skill to a very base level. So that's kind of where everyone's on the same playing field, like if everyone were to use springers, it would definitely show who is using good technique, who is communicating well with their team, and not to say who is a better player, but who is more tactically proficient, if that makes sense. Plus, I think it would just be really cool to just duel people in the middle of the field. You know, it's kind of what we do for Trouble in Terrorist Town anyway. If we're running revolvers or even even regular pistols like Glocks, we'll do a high noon in the middle of the field. We'll just be a bunch of idiots. See, we wouldn't even need to dress up for a Wild West game. You know, we could all just use revolvers. No, yeah, the mag incompatibility. Let me show you. That, I think, is specifically for the magazine release here. It took me a little bit longer to notice. And in the light, it sits farther away from the other side. So the magazine catch on this side and here sits farther away and looser than what would be normal for like an M4 that's sitting back behind the RPK. So let me find some magazines. So the QRSs have a very, very deep cut here in the side. Since it's just a housing, it's just a shell that they use for their high caps and their mid caps. So this has a deep enough cut to where even if it's sitting farther out, it will catch and not come loose. So me flipping it upside down and doing the magazine test like this, so it holds. Versus my favorite PTS ones. I love the PTS EPMs. It comes out. See, I'm not hitting the magazine release. If you just wobble it side to side, it's going to come out. So I think I just need to tighten that mag catch tighter together. And that's going to be part of disassembling it, disassembling the gearbox and reshimming it. Matthias, sorry to hear about Commando. I went there for a small retreat to do paintball a couple of times. So it's a really cool field. I like the layout of it, especially with having the tower, the castle system. I hope it's still up because that was one of the coolest things about it. But yeah, I think what the field owner is trying to do is trying to retain as much cash as possible. Because I think we all know that paintball is very much not a pay to play, but it is very expensive overall to maintain. It has a very high recurring cost and a very high startup cost. Overall, paintball is just very, very expensive. And seeing all of that big money, especially big money quick on the weekends, probably is what has them saying, forget airsoft, let's just do paintball. So very unfortunate to see that. I see way more paintball players than I do, or I see more paintballers resorting or transferring over to airsoft than I see airsofters ever going to paintball. Except in like my case, so I'm going to like a private event for like a birthday party or something like that. But I'm definitely not doing paintball as a weekend sport. Tell me more about the dummy round magazines that fit the MCX. Very interested. Tell me what brand those are, if you can find them. Weirdest customer. I don't think that'd be a very nice thing, since I do get you guys that are customers. Some of you guys are customers, at least, not all of you. But I think that would be a very bad way to build a relationship. But if I'm saying negative things, I would be destroying a relationship, which is not what I want to do. In fact, I want to build relationships. I want to have more interactions with you guys. I want to be not a friend, but I want to be someone that you can rely on for information and be able to do tech work for you guys. So I don't want you to think me as a friend, if that makes sense. A companion. You think of me as a companion. That's a dirty towel. But I think the easiest way to answer that question as far as the weirdest customer, I think the weirdest customer overall are the guys that come in and spend like $1,000+ on a complete rifle setup, extra magazines, extra batteries, a full kit, stuff like that. And they go and play for one weekend and I never see them again. That's what I think is a little weird. If you're putting down that much money, for me, I think that would have to be something that you would, a hobby you would want to commit to. But it's like, hey, if I was making stupid good money to where I could just dump it $1,000 every weekend, man, that would be a nice life. If you guys had $1,000 spare cash for one weekend, what would you guys do? Comment down below. I think I would probably go into some more of the northern states. And what I like to do is one of my side hobbies is geocaching, which is pretty much a big treasure hunt. I like to go up in the northern states and just geocache for a whole weekend. Really nice bed and breakfast. Umbrella Armory, that's actually a good one as well. My eye forces do not fog on me. For Brady, the other guy, the eye forces fog on him pretty easily as well. For Carl, the arena owner, he has no issues with the eye forces. What Brady likes is he likes the PRMX fixates. Now these are going to be a single pane. They have a anti-fog solution on the very inside of the lens here, so it prevents from any sort of precipitation to build along the inside. For me personally, it fixates fog up a lot. But what works for me is not 100% going to work for everyone. I think that they work for a majority of players. You, unfortunately, just seem like you might be one of the very few where it doesn't work. Sorry. You can probably get one of the X-Fogs, which are going to be a fan system that you can mount to your helmet, or if you got a Velcro hat, you could probably mount it to the back, run tubing to the inside of the glasses, and prevent fogging like that. I sell some SHS parts, but not a whole lot. All the stuff that I have for sale is kind of all boneyard from other stores that were closing down and just buying off of them. So I've got SHS gear sets, SHS pistons. I think I have a couple of their piston heads as well in a couple different lengths. I think I have 3 different lengths in total. And I have some really, really basic SHS motors in the long and the short length. No mediums. Ryan, any geocaching locations? Just pull up the app. Really, all around you, there's going to be geocache locations. Do you want to tell me what state you're in, and I'll pull it up on my app? Or not state, but city, if you're comfortable with that. For custom builds, yes, we can do custom builds depending on what it is. Currently, we have a customer that has a really, really old SHS M4, and it has the Delta handguard. Like, this is like 10 plus years old, and he wants us to completely gut it and upgrade all the internals, change some of the externals. He wants us to go from an M4 to a SOP mod, or not a SOP mod, a SPR mod 0. I think that is the closest spec or the closest rifle platform to what he was looking for. He pretty much wants to change everything. So that was overall a pretty expensive build, and it's pretty time consuming, especially since we have to put stuff together by parts. Especially when it's older stuff like that, it was kind of a kind of guesswork as far as if things are going to be to spec or not. I am working on a customer's KWA, the original Magpul receiver from their original AEG 3.0 or their AEG 3. So this is like their, I forget the name, their RMG, the generation 1. This guy is generation 3. I might as well just move RPK out of the way. So this is Gen 3. So this is what is almost currently on what is available on the market. So I've got to do a little bit more work on the customers since no one has Gen 1 KWA AEG 3s available. So in that case, I've got to do the best that I can in order to get the customers gun working since no one has parts available. Yeah, very lucky. She has had it for many years, and she finally brought it in and complained about, oh, you're in Milwaukee County, easy. So she finally brought it in and complained about how it's not working nearly as well as it originally was. So cracked it open and found out that the gearbox shell was cracked, and so she was losing air efficiency because of that. So went on a limb and ordered one of the Gen 2 gearbox shells and it's not quite working out the way. I think I need to change out some of the gears internally, because I think the Gen 1s and the Gen 2s use different size of gears. Not gear ratio, but the gears themselves are different size. So it's loading in so many that it's taking me a while just to drag over from Waukesha to Milwaukee. And there's a couple trails that are following the river, so they're pretty common around there. Now, I currently have it set up in a 10-mile radius, but for kind of downtown Milwaukee area, that's a pretty decent number of caches that you can go out and find. And you can see the smiley faces. I found a couple. I was living up by Shorewood area, just a little bit farther south of the university. So I was able to go out, not really all that often, and kind of go in and explore caches. And actually, if you want to go somewhere cool, there's actually a old Soviet Union, or not Soviet Union, but during the Cold War, there's a Cold War bunker, and there's a Cold War missile silo launching system right along the shore of the Milwaukee area. So there's the launch system, which is up pretty close to the university, and then the actual missile silos are actually on the Summerfest grounds. So there's actually a couple caches on Summerfest for the launch, for the missiles, and then a couple more on the launch area by the university. So go check those out. So SSG is single sector gear. So isn't that just a standard AEG? So this guy, when it was still in the AEG, I actually tore this apart and I did a really, really good custom shim job on this to where it was like perfect. I also threw in a ASG 40K. I think it was a 40K motor in here. And this thing was ripping. Like, I was a complete terror down at the Airsoft arena with this. Like, I would demolish. And this one was just a regular 18-to-1 ratio single sector gear setup. Other than the shim job and changing the motor, everything else was completely stock in there. So just changed it over to the HPA. So I tried to main on my MCX and my Elite MP5, but I also have this HPA, so I have a little bit more comfort. I still have that muscle memory that I keep talking about. Yep, Ryan, the app is free, so go ahead and do that. I just pay an extra $30 a year in order to get the premium, so I get access to a lot more caches. But if you're just starting out, just use the app free as is. For DSGs, dual sector gear, those are actually designed to be a high stress. Traditionally, if you want to maintain the lifespan of a DSG build, you would probably end up cutting down your cutting down a couple of teeth of the piston. There we go. My words escaped me for a minute. Wow, I couldn't say piston for the longest time. That was embarrassing. In order to get good timing with your tappet plate, your piston, and your dual sector gear. So you're going to be shooting a lower velocity because of the couple teeth that would be missing on the piston. So as long as you're okay with running a lower velocity, like maybe 300, maybe lower, in order to maintain a longer lifespan of the build, then you're good. Yes. Prices are all completely dependent on what you as the player want to put in there. And depending on how much stuff we have to assemble, it's going to depend on the labor cost as well as part cost. Turnaround usually is within a 2-week window. Myself and Brady are the only technicians. We're also the only retail guys. So some builds take a little bit longer to do work on. And that's unfortunately the nature of the beast. Fakeco, I think that's how I can pronounce your name, Fakeco, and call it Faka. That doesn't sound right. Fakeco, thank you. And welcome to Wisconsin via the stream. Not going to see a whole lot of Wisconsin since we're in my basement. Happy quarantine times. And that was the last of my Corona. And the last of the beer in my house. Very unfortunate. Sat here answering questions for so long, I completely forgot where I was in the process for this guy. You're also sitting a little crooked. So between you and me, Fakeco, I have never seen a single episode of Game of Thrones. For me personally, that's just one of the few TV series that people just tell me I absolutely have to watch. I have to watch it. I'm a piece of shit if I don't watch Game of Thrones. So I'm like, okay, I guess I'm going to be a piece of shit. And really, I'm not a huge fan of staying glued to the TV for too long. I'm more of a fan of shorter length seasons for TV series. I'm kind of a watch it when I can type of guy. Like The Office, too long. Too long. That's for me personally. Dang, watching JoJo? Don't they have like a million seasons though? Or it have a million seasons? Isn't it kind of like One Piece where it just keeps going and going and going? For a shim job, we price our shim job at $60, which is equivalent to 1 hour's worth of work. However, shim jobs typically go a little bit longer than that. So the shim job on the BFC Mark 18, this guy, before I turned it into an HPA, that was a 2.5-hour job. So we don't charge you for all of 2.5 hours, just for 1 hour. And if it goes beyond, it goes beyond. Did you know that Billie Eilish is a huge Office fan? In fact, she took one of the Office quizzes with the actor that played Dwight Schrute, and he called her William Eyelash, and also confessed that she would watch The Office while she was taking shits. So, good on her. I think that's a little crazy, a little bit much to tell professional actors. I definitely would not watch, or definitely would not tell any Airsoft channels that I watch them while I'm taking a shit. Hey, I don't listen to a whole lot of anything. I kind of just listen to whatever. Whatever's on the radio. I just swap between hip hop, country, rock, oldies. So if one of Billy's songs comes on, then I'll just sit and listen to it. Does not matter to me. So Fateco, one of the questions that we had earlier that I would like you to answer, since there's so few people watching, is if you had an extra $1,000 just to do whatever you want with, what would you do with it? Answer down in the comments for us, will you? So aftermarket parts, it's really a hodgepodge of what's available. Actually, let me finish this magazine, and I promise I'll get to this. Since the 19X is done, I'm actually going to pop one of these. Is this the right fit? If it's not. Do I have the right size here? Of course I don't. Why would I? Nope, wrongo as well. Wrongo. Yes, I'm just going to use this flathead. No, I'm going to use this guy. So like I was saying before, is with CO2 magazines, is that there is a puncture valve on the inside there, that little piece of white right here. This is going to be best if you have silicone oil droplets. The spray will work, but droplets are the absolute best. They're a thicker consistency and will stick inside the magazine for longer with that CO2 high pressure. So, with CO2 being a dry gas, helps maintain it. Man, you are just a superhero. Hat off to you, Fateco, for willing to give away your $1,000, which I suppose is fair. It's $1,000 that you can do absolutely whatever with. At this point of time, I would agree with that. Helping out hospitals, nurses, doctors, people that need it the most. Yeah, delivery drivers. I always end up using is it Grubhub? No, not Grubhub. There's another delivery service that I always use, food delivery service. Awesome. So this is full. What about Keanu Reeves? Would Fateco be as nice as Keanu Reeves? You know what? Yeah. I think Fateco, you are as nice as Keanu Reeves if you have $1,000. And would give it away like that. Keanu Reeves is just such an amazing person. From all the things I hear about him, just awesome. And his work in John Wick and The Matrix, we can't deny that. Super amazing. So answering your question, Matthias, about the aftermarket Glock 17 parts for the VFC, there's really not a whole lot that is truly to spec. Other than really what is available factory. For a threaded outer barrel, and I'm glad that damn it, the thread cover is still on there and is preventing me from taking it out. Amateur over here. So what I have is the Pro NT, Professional and Tactical. This is for it's a match grade barrel for the Umarex G17. Like I said before, this is the EMG Psi one in rose gold. You can also get it in black. This one does work. There was another one that I bought from eBay. They have all of their threaded barrels. Those threaded barrels don't fucking work. Excuse my language, but for a $120 barrel, it better be what the description says. If it's a 14 counterclockwise threading in the description, it better come to me 14 counterclockwise, but it wasn't. It was 12 positive or some shit like that. Like, how can you get thread size and thread direction just wrong? That ticked me off. And I ordered it through the store, so I wasn't able to return it. So that was also really annoying. This is I forget the name of this one specifically. This one was another good one. This was one of the Pro Arms. There we go. This is one of the very first Pro Arms. No, this is the Helix. This is the Helix Arms. Their threaded barrel option. The Pro Arms I did not purchase. I'm assuming that they are the correct threading. The Helix ones are a positive threading, not the negative. So to show you guys the Ace Tech Lighter S, try to thread it on there, and it doesn't thread. It doesn't thread because this is the wrong thread direction. Versus this one, threads on there, no issue. And this one I got from JK Army, I want to say. I want to say this is JK Army. We do not do custom Glock builds for this exact reason, where there's not enough available for the VFC spec ones aftermarket to create something nice. Because what would happen is, for the VFC ones, we would have to buy everything at a retail cost. We actually don't have partnership with all of these online distributors. Weird, right? So we would have to buy everything at a retail price. Then we would have to jack the price up in order to make any amount of profit, because first and foremost, we're a store. Secondly, I want to be the guy that you guys come to if you need anything. Unfortunately, with custom work, we're going to be a little iffy just because the nature that you guys probably, some of the more higher end, the more experienced players are looking for. So if you need any sort of HPA installs, or have any issues with those, myself and Brady are Wolverine technicians. We're actually certified, and we actually have a pre-production MTW for when we took the MTW class. So if you need any help with Wolverine stuff, we're good with that. We have experience with Redline. That was weird. With Redline, Polar Stars, So if you have any issues with those, you can definitely bring them in and we can take a look at those. Yeah, sorry to hear that, Ryan. It's not the first time, and I promise you it won't be the last time to hear Evic doing that sort of stuff. There was actually a, not to talk shit about Crytek again. Yeah. Not to talk shit about Crytek again, but there was another field that had ordered a dozen or so Crytek rifles. I forget which model specifically they bought, but all of them were defective directly out of the box. The MOSFET trigger system just broke on all of them, not soldered correctly. So that was really disappointing to see another field have to deal with that. I've actually had customers buy other brand rifles from Evic, and they come with mud on them, and they're obviously pre-used. So I'm not sure if customers are unintentionally buying. What are those sales that Evic does, where it's not a mystery box. It's not their box of awesomeness, but it's when Evic wants to get rid of their display items or something like that. What is that? It's going to bother me now. Yes, the red tag. See, I didn't even need to use my phone. Yes, their red tag stuff where it's all their display stuff, where it's all used, stuff like that. Unfortunately, that's, again, how they make their business. Originally, they did have to buy that one display rifle, and at some point, they have to turn it around in order to make a profit again. Or yes, Ryan, the open box. So, actually, I got sidetracked again. I'm trying to work on magazines. Because I have 6 magazines that I'm trying to go through and make sure all the O-rings are good. But I still want to answer your question, Matthias, about the aftermarket parts. So there's a nozzle assembly that I want to get my hands on from Evic that is supposed to be VFC spec. This one is really, really tight. With most, or with all, of the VFC Glocks, the nozzle, pop this out real quick, is supposed to snap backwards with no issue. That's actually has issue. But I think this one is dry, but it's supposed to snap backwards like that. This one just doesn't go back all the way. But I also have a RMR mount on here, which is mounted a little weird, a little wonky, especially since I took a real steel RMR rear dot mount and I just modified it slightly to where it would fit inside here, just using a file, shaving down just a little bit of space, putting the RMR mount, and then putting the NC Star RMR on here, the one that has E button and the adjustable brightness. Let's see. Oh, we had it. There it is. Until it's all the way off there. Whew. So this was cool. I had another one, so I have it in here. Probably not. Okay. That was a It had a little switch up here, but not a switch. It was a light filter. So it used a diode internally to adjust the brightness of the red dot to be brighter or dimmer, depending on if I was aiming at a darker target or a well-lit target, if that makes sense. That ended up being complete trash. So I picked up this guy instead, which is the button. And the button actually broke on mine. So if you can't tell, I abuse the shit out of my stuff. So I'm looking at a aftermarket nozzle. They do sell different hammer assemblies, or hammer assemblies. So make sure that you get the gas, the VFC spec one. For sure, make sure you get that one, because Elite Force also has KJW manufacturing a Glock Gen 4 CO2, and they use a completely different hammer assembly. So make sure you get the VFC one, because you can get the steel one, which is going to last a little longer. I actually had to replace this one 2 times now, just because I've used this so much, and I'm constantly just dry firing shit up. This was the very first Glock that we received from Elite Force. So the very first one that we unboxed, I just grabbed the top one and said, this Glock is going to be mine, and it's going to be used as a test and a demo. I even had a good friend of mine do a stipple job on the side here. So that's cool. And you can absolutely disassemble the hop-up in order to put a Type 4 inner barrel inside of there. Not really needed. They're really good out of the box. But you can do it. So for gearbox of AUGs, they use a version 2. I'm 90% positive on. It would be a really quick Google search just to make sure I'm right and not talking shit. So version 2. I think they're going to use a Tokyo Marui spec. If you try to take one of the ASG AUGs, I think I said that right the first time, just to make it absolutely clear. If you try to take the ASG AUG gearbox and try to put it into one of the, I think it's a JG AUG, it would not work. But if you have one of the ASG ones, that's actually one of the better AUG's platforms to go with. Do I prefer large events or arena? I prefer larger events. I'm more of a mil-sim type of player, but going and doing casual play is also something that I like to do as well. Especially since a lot of my kit is based off of what would be considered mil spec. I only have one that would really be more of a CQB-esque. That's going to be this guy right here, which is a HSGI base for the chest rig setup. So I've got HSGI pouches. This is a Emerson multicam black, not a dump pouch, but it's a fanny pack. And I modified it with malice clips or molly clips to fit just underneath of the chest rig itself. And then this is a backpack that conveniently had the exact same clip size as the HSGI chest rig, but this is from Head On Tactical. So this is just an aftermarket backpack that can go onto any sort of chest rig type, but really it's dependent on the size of the clips up front. But I really like this. I think this was $60, $70, $80. Very high quality. They have really nice, big industrial zippers, which I think are super awesome. Much, much better than some of the cheaper backpacks that are using the super thin stuff that you can rip open really, really easily. But this I will use for more casual meal sims, like at Apocalypse Paintball. Or similar to Ballahack, since we all know what the Ballahack events are like. I would probably wear that to a Ballahack event. Yes, I did visit Waukesha. Actually, Ryan, I will get to your question next. I'm just half read Matthias's question first. How do they do stock ranging consistency-wise for the Elite Force Glocks? I'm assuming that's what you're referring to. I think they do really, really well. There are a lot of comparison videos between the WeTech, the Tokyo Marui. Some people even use some of the GHK Glocks, some of the original ones, compared to the newer VFC ones. And they're usually pretty similar. Of course, you can get a lot more aftermarket stuff for the Wii or Tokyo Marui to get it to be a little bit more tighter, a little bit more precise. But if we're talking out of the box, the VFCs have performed much, much better. In fact, Red Wolf actually did a video where they did a test between WeTech, Tokyo Marui, and VFC. I tried to look for that video before on their channel. I don't know if they deleted it. But at the end of the video, they said that they would choose the VFC Glocks over the Wii and the Tokyo Marui. They did admit, and I do admit, that there are more parts available aftermarket for Wii and Tokyo Marui. That's not, I think everyone knows that. However, for out-of-the-box performance and reliability, I would give it, myself personally, to VFC to be the better option. That's why I own 4 of them. Because I really just want something out of the box that's going to work really, really well. I think later on in the future, maybe next year, since I'm not going to have a whole lot of spare cash right now in order to do any more builds, I might eventually go for a custom high cabin build. That's been something I kind of have wanted to do for a while. So, Ryan, going back to your question about the Waukegan Power, I have visited it. It was during their soft opening when they very, very first opened. And I only stayed for a little less than an hour. For the players that did show up, I was not a huge fan of. And I was not a fan of the rule system. Like, I don't know if they built the buildings up any larger. The couple of videos that I've seen of Power currently, there's still cracks in between, like, the raised platforms and underneath the bus and cars, stuff like that. Which the very first game I played, there was a lot of unspoken rules. Like, you can't shoot under the bus, and you can't shoot through these wide open gaps that I can crawl through. So I had players and refs pull me out to the side and be like, hey, we know it's not the rules, but you can't do that. I'm like, well, why not make it to where I can't do that then? Why not just put some more boards up? So I personally am not a fan. I think it is a great opportunity for more of the Speed QB style of players that are more dedicated to that play style and have platforms and gear set up for that play style in order to have, a field that they can go and specifically do that and not have to resort to an indoor field. I know that the next closest field for Speed QB type of play or even hosted tournaments was down in Nashville, Tennessee for their Nashville Airsoft field. So the fact that they have something a little closer to home is pretty nice. That and the Waukegan field, I was hoping, and I'm still kind of half hoping, that it's going to be the CQB city of the Midwest. Now, that has been a goal of mine for a couple of years now, to go to CQB city. If you guys don't remember Milsim Junkie, go check his channel out. He still has all of his videos out. Now, granted, they're several years old, but they are awesome. It's kind of like Scout the Doggy, but for California. It's like those types of videos. And the fact that there's something that is a little bit more tangible, a little bit more closer to home, at least within the US, that was something that I really, really enjoyed. And definitely still one of my goals to go and check out CQB City. So if Waukegan can end up turning into the CQB City for the Midwest, that'd be really cool too. I think they got a couple of changes yet that they need to do to be more accepting for beginner players, some less experienced players, or even some players that have different play styles, like myself. So those are a couple steps that still need to be taken into effect. With the arena, I know that certain players are going to have disagreements with referees, stuff like that, how the arena is not going to be speed QB friendly, when in fact, the arena is friendly to all play styles, all play kits, if that makes sense. It's just an anti-dip rule. So I know, for one example specifically is speed soft players like to pre-fire corners. That is not something that is looked upon in a positive light at the arena, especially when it comes to safety standards, stuff like that. If a player is blindly firing a corner as they're walking it, that's not really a safe manner in order to maneuver around the field. So we try to, or not we, as in I'm there since I'm no longer there, but the refs and the staff there try to explain to the player that it's not really a correct style of behavior, try to explain the situation to them. Some cases it's understood, some it's not. So there's a lot of players that have their YouTube videos on reviewing of the Airsoft Arena, and it's all in a negative light. So those are just the players that we, again, I say we, but that's the type of play style that, or players, I should say, not play style, but those are the types of players that the arena just isn't really accepting of. So as long as that's understood, then we're all good. Sure, Matthias. If I do get around to building one, I will hit you up. As long as you're following the channel, hopefully in the future. Like I said, I don't think it'll be the near future, but I definitely want to do a custom build. Sorry if that was a really weird rant for you guys. I also discovered my RMR mount is loose. Nice and loose for some reason. Oh, there it is. Yes, the VFCs can be short stroked exactly the same way that we talked about, short stroking the piston. And actually, if you were to use standard 18-to-1 gears, you could also set it to where the pickup tooth, you cut off two of the very front teeth that are getting picked up. So as the, it'd be this one right here. So as the, right? Yeah. So as the gear rotates this direction, you'd want to cut these teeth off that are picking the piston up, because if you were to remove these, this is actually going to change the timing of the tappet plate, which moves the nozzle as well as releasing the piston. So making sure you're cutting off pickup, not release. Oh, short stroking the Glocks. I don't think you can. I think on because this is used on the 19X and the CO217. I think if this is the same type of recoil spring that you saw on the 19, might as well grab it. Because the spring system on this, the way it's structured, is a little bit weaker, but not really by a whole lot. There's still a good amount of tension. I don't know currently of anything that is aftermarket that is a weaker spring tension. I would assume you would have to put a buffer system on the spring somewhere around there, because this metal ring actually hooks into the very front here, like so, and it recoils like that. So I'm assuming any sort of spacer would need to fit in this space here. How proprietary are the VLUs? Pretty proprietary. They're kind of like the exact same way that a VFC currently is, where it's slightly out of spec, where you need to use VFC parts. Of course, you can grab a Dremel, and you can make it work. This back together. Well, the M27, remind me, that is the 5.56, the 18-inch 416. I think. Sebastian, quick type in yes or no if I'm right. So I've had my fill of Corona tonight, if you haven't seen yet. Perfect. Okay, then the M27 is going to use the full auto selector. So, funny story, Black Ops, their shitty tech actually use wood screws and screws it into the receiver so you can't flip the selector into full auto, which is stupid because that cuts into the selector plates. So what you're going to need to do is you're going to disassemble the rifle, get your selector plate to where it does not allow the internal selector or the trigger switch to go into full auto. So that's going to be, do I have those parts here? Of course not. Why would I? This is one rifle I don't feel bad about ripping apart real quick. I agree with 6.03 Prami for a hop system. I prefer a Sugru R-hop. Now that's going to be a more putty-based R-hop system to where you're not using the plastic tubing for the patch. You get what's called Sugru glue, and you use that in the window of your inner barrel. And I actually have most of my stuff Sugru or Sugru hopped, so it works the exact same way a R-hop does, but I think it's a little bit more resilient. Shoot. Do I have those parts here? There.
You can use a cotton purple. I have heard good things about those. That's one of the ones that Brady likes to use in his guns. I personally like to use the Mad Bull Reds. For the pop-up unit, I like to stick with the VFC stuff. I think they do very, very, very well. Where are my tools? Of course, they are not where I need them. You guys have those issues, right, where you lose tools? I think Mad Bull Reds are just a great all-around bucking. I don't have that. All right. So we're going to have to use an 8K gearbox as an example. So what would happen is there are 3 positions where your selector plate, this guy, on the side of a version 2 gearbox, which is what the M27 would be using, is going to look a little different. But the idea is still the same, to where there are 3 positions. Here is full auto, here is semi, and here is safe. So 3 positions. So what you would be doing is, on a version 2, you would be cutting out on this end, where currently there is nothing. You, on a version 2, you would cut out the selector plate here to where, as you move the selector switch to the side, it would push, on a version 2, this further back to go into full auto. That you don't want to do, so you just have to cut away material over here. And that is how you manually prevent a rifle from shooting in full auto. So that would mean it would be technically semi-locked for a DMR platform, and for most outdoor fields or larger milsims, that would allow for a DMR platform to go up to 450 feet per second. But of course, some larger events may not allow the M27 as a DMR because it is a .56 caliber, and that is not a traditional DMR caliber over in the real world. Yep, 308, 7.62 by 54. I suppose a 50 cal, if it's like one of the semi-automatic Barretts. What's another one? Nope, we are not going to call any wars. Because we are not huge fans of Black Ops with how they structure their rule systems. With certain staff members, they have had bad experience with referees. I have had bad experience with players not following the rules and not enforcement of those rules. So we have only gone to Black Ops for the larger American Milsim events, and that's why we're there. For Colony Wars, not so much. In fact, American Milsim has canceled this year's event, which is not Stonebreaker. It was one of the American Milsim events, which we just don't go to. I mean, yeah, any reason to go and airsoft is a good enough reason. But hey, I hope you guys have fun. I think that the field overall is a very, very good layout. I think there is a lot of great potential. It's a little disappointing because 3/4 of the field, maybe 2/3, is all floodplain. So it's very difficult for Will to go out and build anything on there, especially since he is restricted by the DNR to not build on the floodplains. And you can't just change floodplains to not be floodplains. That would require completely changing the ecosystem, rising it up on a plateau, maybe 6 feet, 10 feet, maybe. And then just changing that entire ecosystem to where none of the cattails are there. Instead, it would be a forest system. Yeah, that's one of the reasons why we don't like to go. Oh. The rules are just a little weird. But hey, for some people, weird rules are okay. And I know that there's been drama with their advertising systems, with how they deal with sponsored players. That's really all it is. It's all drama. It's just teams that don't want to put in work in order to benefit a field. I have personally not played at Siege. We have another staff member by the name of Jackson who absolutely loves to go to Siege. He actually prefers Siege over going to the arena. So if that means anything, while I personally have not gone, I think his word is as good as any. If I remember correctly, it is a paintball-based field, so I think they're going to have more of the blow-up balloon type of obstacles, which aren't too bad. They work for the purpose that they're supposed to do, which is change how the field is set up. No, I'm not going to put it past them. Airsofters can play wherever they want. Got a little crooked there. Again, got a little crooked. There we go. That got a little crooked. Like this. I think I need to get an aftermarket spring because the slide just doesn't go all the way forward, and it seems kind of weak to me compared to what we've got. Seems a little weird. I may have to play around with this one a little bit more. I think I need to get an aftermarket recoil spring. In Arena, it used to be this one. Now it got stuck for some reason. Okay. That's going up on my high priority. Recoil spring. Now it actually kind of transferred over to my CO2 one, which we're actually getting somewhere. We're actually doing some cleaning. I know it's taken me a minute. Oh, no. Hey, Ryan, I'll take your word for it. I may have been thinking of a different field for Siege. I think the shipping containers are also used up in Action Sports. Action Sports, that's another one. I think they tried to replicate shipment from Call of Duty. So I think that's why they're heavy with shipping containers. Unless I'm confusing fields again. Like I said, I've never been to Siege. I thought I knew what it looked like. That's what I heard too, that Siege was one location and then it changed to another one. Are we just thinking of the same field, just different locations?
I've never been to Boneyard, and I would not trust them to have insurance. That's the thing with Boneyard. Oh my. So my CO2 inner barrel is so dirty, there's a BB stuck halfway through. It was sitting in the bucking, and now it got loose, and it's stuck halfway through. It's so gross. Oh, why would I do this to myself? Why do I say that Boneyard might not have insurance? That's all just speculation. Seeing the field layout through pictures, reading some of their posts that they put on Facebook, and talking to some of the staff members and players, I'm not 100% positive, but I'm like a 87% positive they're not insured. Trying to find, here we go. So when cleaning your inner barrels, make sure you have a dry paper towel. It's absolutely crucial. If you use silicone oil, you have a risk of that oil going onto the bucking, and that creates a slippery surface that the plastic BB is not able to grab onto. Whoops. Oh, goodness. Look at that filth on there. Ugh. Why did I do that to my pistols? My poor baby pistols. Hey, we're at 2 hours. Guys, this has been a lot of fun. Super happy that I decided just to do a YouTube live like this. Thank you for staying with me. Some good conversation. Good questions. Oh, ugh. You guys can see, not very clearly, you can't see it, but this is a filthy BB. It is not white at all. It's gray. Second pass, just as dirty. Quick, I want to put you guys on the Airsoft Headquarters Facebook page as a personal thank you.
Everyone say cheese. Oh my God, that was terrible. Becky, that was horrible. We're going to take another one. That's another one. Here we go. There we go. A little bit more casual. I don't know what I was looking like the first picture. That was so weird. Quick post this. Yes. Ryan. Fake Co. Yeah, I got you on there, Sebastian. It's Philip. Go down to the bottom, and there's Camden. We'll throw you in there, man. Sorry, at the end of the list. Hashtag surviving the quarantines. Oh my goodness. No, I didn't want to. I did not mean to go to Snapchat. Let's go back to some lofi beats, whatever you guys call it. Now it's Camden. What's up with you, Sebastian? Answering your question about the $600 scar. So that is a Aries manufactured scar. So that is the same gearbox that is used in the Amoebas, if I remember correctly. So it is adjustable. Let me clean here. As far as the burst, what's going to be most efficient as far as battery usage, stuff like that. So, it's also very, very well made. Like, that is a full metal receiver. It also has a true quick change spring system, meaning that you fold the stock and right there is your spring, your internal spring. So the only other systems that do that are going to be the MCX for one, the G36, the Beretta ARX, the UMP, the MP5 Elites, I want to say the ASG CZ Scorpion. I want to say, not 100% positive on that. And I think that's it. As far as like a true quick change where you fold the stock, bam, it's right there. I'm sorry to hear that you have to go to bed, Camden. What is it? It's 12:42. Holy crap. Well, it is well past my bedtime, but good company. Time flies by. Now, don't it, boys? Aftermarket classic Army upgrades or aftermarket hop-up units. Yeah, aftermarket hop-up units. I do not 100% know about the classic Army ones. I am assuming that not the Mad Bull. I would not suggest the Max model. With some of the more recent ones, there have been issues with quality control. It's like the thing with Crytek we were talking about. They got too big too fast, so they started pushing for quantity instead of the quality that they were originally known for. Camden, how long have we been live? 2 hours, 21 minutes, 19 seconds exactly. So this has been going on a long time, man. And honestly, I was pretty downed having to answer some Amazon customer messages. So I was like, heck with it. I'm just going to do something that is going to be a little different, maybe a little bit farther outside of my comfort zone by going live, and just take my mind off of it. It's been a lot of fun. That's all thanks to you guys. Because honestly, I would have stopped cleaning pistols long ago. Could use a little bit of the Brasso or to polish it up, but whatever. Oh, something I did not tell you guys about the 19X. So with the 19X, it has a free rotating orange tip. And the idea is that it is also a spacer for the inner barrel. You see how this one actually, this inner barrel pops out of the orange tip just a little bit. So when it sits flush in a neutral position like this, the inner barrel stops right at the end there, at the end of the orange tip. And that was intentional. So this is a aftermarket Type 4 inner barrel, and this is a maple leaf 50 degree, I think it's 50 or 60. Anyway, it's a aftermarket hop up and inner barrel, or aftermarket bucking and inner barrel. I had to use Loctite in order to get the hop up to close tightly, so I don't lose zero with the hop up unit specifically. So that's what I did to this CO2 one. This was my second Glock that I picked up from the shop. Whoops. The very first one being this guy, which needs a new recoil spring. But we already talked about that. Camden, thank you for the kind words about what I'm doing on the channel. If you go back and watch the original 9 videos that I put up when I first got access to the channel, those are very, very poor quality. I was directed by the owner for the first 9 videos, and those were actually placeholders, or the channel was a placeholder for the videos to sit and store while they're being used for our website. However, after the 9 videos, I got complete creative control over the type of stuff that I get to upload to here. So try to be a little bit more creative, try to have a wider spread of content and items available to show you guys, like the MCX. MCX I had to work really hard for, and this is something that I bought out of pocket in order to show you guys so I can have more content to put onto the channel. Really not expensive, or really, really expensive. This is not something I got any sort of deal on. I know certain airsoft YouTubers, not to mention any names, tend to get some of the higher end stuff like the MCX here. And they kind of allude that they get it for free. Not the case with me, I promise you. This all came out of my pocket. So really, if you guys can get any of your friends to continue to subscribe, continue to watch and support the channel, as I continue to grow, I would really appreciate any support. For me to get any sort of extra money through monetization, I need 1,000 subscribers and either 2,000 or 4,000 viewing hours per month. So got a long way to go. In the almost a year now since I've had the channel, we went from 80 subscribers all the way up to 276, I think was the last count that I saw. So thank you guys. If you guys are currently subscribed, thank you for sticking around. Thank you for subscribing and supporting. I still got a little ways to go before I can bring you guys even more stuff like the MCX, because it's still something I'm making payments on. How often would I recommend lubricating a high kappa run only with HPA? That is a tough question, and I don't exactly know the answer to it. Because HPA is not a gas, so it doesn't have any of that molecular systems that CO2 or green gas or propane has. So there's no extra gunk or material that can build up within the pistol itself. So I would assume that the only places that you would really need to make sure you're working, making sure that you're lubricating, is going to be that hammer assembly, the hammer assembly, like I keep talking about, as well as along the slides here. I think that's really the only places. Oh, the nozzle. I would probably do the nozzle as well, even though there's not any of that gas system in there. Just making sure that O-ring internally is nice and lubricated. Same with any of the O-rings on the magazine, whatever magazine you're using, making sure that those are lubricated as well. That's really, I think, it. Again, I'm not really experienced with HPA pistols specifically. Hey, Wolf Guy, we are supportive of all play styles, but I'm not going to disagree with you on that one. See you later, Camden. Have a good night's sleep. For the setup, I actually had to sit down with Brady because he was trying to call me on my bullshit about how much I actually spent on it. And so we actually sat down and we did the math, and it actually totaled to almost $1,400. And actually, let me show you. So I am talking about this current setup, not the sling. Okay, I did not add the sling. I had the sling before the MCX. So the folding stock, which is aftermarket. There we go. The flashlight, the battery, the pack box. This rail system is actually aftermarket. This is a Midwest Industries M-Lock rail system, and it's backwards for you guys. But this is designed for a real MCX firearm. So the fact that it fit on there really smoothly, really nicely was super awesome. Bonus points on MCX for getting that close as well as having mag pull angled foregrip here, one of the Gen 1s. And then I have a fire field flashlight and laser system. So I don't have the external or the remote pressure switch. I wish I did. I actually got this pre-owned, so the original owner completely jacked up that wiring harness. So visible light and then visible laser. And then on here, so this is a 12 and a half inch rail system. This is a 10-inch rail system. And I have the Enforce, a Scout light. This is a clone. And this is a run cam along the top here. PTS mag pull grip. So I have a little bit shorter CQB spec of rail system that is comfortable for me. And a 12 and a half rail system that is more for longer engagements. I have the folding stock on here instead of the collapsible one, because I just think this one is a little bit cooler, you know, especially since you have that action going on. Am I right? It's just the issue of getting this back. I think I just need to wear it in. So I have this currently kitted up for more of a mil-sim spec, especially for what it is currently shooting at. The rifle out of the box was shooting about 420 feet per second. I know 420. And then it actually comes with a second spring inside the box as well. And that was currently about 480, which is super, super, super surprising. I don't know if that's just the one specifically that I got. It seems like some of the other guys may be shooting a little bit lower than that for that second spring. So overall, in total, not including shipping, $1,400. Oh, something else that actually jacked the price up is an infrared flashlight. Oh, what? How does the camera pick that up? That's insane. So this is an infrared flashlight that is used for night vision, stuff like that. And I have a infrared laser. Does the camera pick it up as well? Not this one. So this is a laser flashlight used with night vision. Now, I do not have the analog stuff, the military tubular one, the PBS 14, stuff like that. I have one of the psionics videos, which I currently did 2 videos on. So I have those for the psionics. Oh, but it just helped jack the price up. Quick, put this back together. I think we're done talking about my Block 2. So back up onto the wall, RPK. If you guys can afford it, the Streamlight TLR1 flashlight. This is an awesome pistol-mounted flashlight that actually took a couple of hits. So it is overall super solid, super bright as well. This is one that I was looking at well before I got it, just because of some of the more benefits that it has compared to like an APL or some of the cheaper NC Star ones like that. So there's these 2 knobs here and here. So if you press with my support hand, I can hit the left side here and I can bounce it a couple times in order to get a strobe effect, or I can just press it up and I can remove my hand and it's constantly on, or I can just press it down once, hold it down for however long I need in order to get a temporary on or off. And it's pretty streamlined. It's very, very lightweight, does not add much of anything to the very front here. So overall, I really, really like it. Holsters that can hold the Streamlight are pretty expensive. Not a whole lot of them currently on the market for holsters. Ryan knows exactly what I'm talking about. Streamlight flashlights. Where was I? That's right. Dirty inner barrel that I cleaned. How to program the TLR. I think that is something that you have to manually change, as in you have to break it apart in order to cut a switch or a wire somewhere internally in order to take that strobe effect off. I think that's the only way to turn strobe off. I don't know, unless people are getting like a Airsoft replica from China where it doesn't have the strobe effect. As far as I know, this is a real one, so couldn't tell you. Unfortunately, that's not an answer I have. You tap the lever 10 times and hold it on the 10th. Is this some sort of like Nintendo 64 cheat? And it's actually going to blow up my flashlight? So I'll do it. Don't tap me. I'll do it. Oh, you just tried it. Okay. See, I don't have to. See, I don't have to do anything then. So cool. I will remember that now. Huh. See, I didn't think that would be something that they would have pre-programmed in them. Dang. I just holding these wrong. It must be. Just call me amateur hour. Anything else you guys have questions about, or maybe want to see that I might have? I'm almost done with this pistol. It is pretty late. It's 1 in the morning. Wow. So I think I'm going to finish this pistol up, and then we're going to call it quits for the night. But I do have a little bit. This pistol is dirty as heck. Can't believe I let it get so dirty. I may need a second paper towel roll. Or not roll, but sheet of paper towel. Even up here. Man, there's just gunk flowing everywhere. Back to the droplets. So you guys, the Airsoft Innovations silicone droplets are miracle workers. Well, we're losing a couple people. At one point, we were up to 8 other guys watching this, which I appreciate. Was not expecting even that many. So thank you guys. I really, really appreciate it. And it looks like, well, had another one done. So I'm just going to finish cleaning this pistol. There's a couple of spots here on the slide I'm going to hit up. Getting there, deep in that groove, cleaning all that gunk out. I had to pass through the inner barrel multiple times. Previous sheet of paper towel, pretty gross. And before, the nozzle recoil spring has been jacked up on this before. Kind of peeking in there off to the side, making sure everything's good there. And it does. I wish I had some Q-tips. I would totally hit the edge of the nozzle right there. Where's my... I can at least try to reach in there with a paper towel. Will there be more streams in the future? I hope so. I definitely do hope so. Like I said, this was a lot of fun. Do you guys follow any sort of other podcasts on YouTube, specifically Joe Rogan, hosted Fear Factor, commentator for MMA fights. He has his own podcast. I absolutely love watching all of his podcast stuff. He brings on a wide selection of people, and it's just absolutely amazing. He brought on a professional trainer that explained a state of flow and he explained it in an example of working out, but he said it can apply to other things where it's fun to do these things, even though they may appear to be a chore in writing, such as cleaning pistols. That's normally a chore. However, for me, it's fairly meditative. And in fact, putting it on live stream and just hanging out with you guys has been a state of flow where it's just time has passed by and I've enjoyed interacting with you guys as well as cleaning my pistols. Because there's really not a whole lot of else to do in these quarantine times. So yes, I really do hope that we will do some more streams in the future. Keep an eye on my Facebook page, Airsoft Headquarters. I may be putting them on Instagram as well. We do have an Instagram account, Airsoft Headquarters. You can also follow us on Airsoft C3 if you do not already have an account there. And of course, YouTube. I may have to do something about this light. I may have to put it a little bit higher up. So this is all blown out. I also want to change the color temperature of this light to a little bit more of a blue like I have for my box lights. Are there any videos that you guys would like to see me do? I think I have a pretty good selection of videos already on the channel. What has piqued your interest the most? Or is there anything else that you guys would like to see? Other than gameplay videos, I am still trying to work on gameplay videos. It's very hard to do gameplay anything when we're stuck indoors like this. Here's a little trick for the Elite Force Glocks. I don't know if this trick will work for Tokimori or Wetex. If you're putting your slide back on, but your recoil spring keeps catching, just rotate it a little bit. You'll eventually get to a spot where it settles down. I had that in front of my t-shirt, so it didn't really look all that good. So, of course, there it catches. We'll intentionally make a assembly failure. There we go. So pull it back. Your spring guide is out of place. Just pull it and rotate it into place like so. Then you can, there we go. Something didn't line up there. There we go. And here's my CO2. Took that inner barrel or the BB out of the inner barrel before. Sweet. Awesome. Another thing with the CO2 one specifically, now this is, again, one of the very first ones that we got here at the store, so I've worn it and abused it a lot. So on the very top here, where the spot where the slide catch would catch, normally it's a 90-degree angle. However, this one is so worn that it's actually kind of rounded off, that you can see right there at the very tip of my index finger. So if you use the CO2 one enough, it will eventually start to do that with you as well. So keep that in mind. You absolutely can get an aftermarket slide in order to replace that. However, this has become sentimental to me. So I don't think I will end up replacing it. And hey, you can actually, yeah, if you move this pistol enough, it'll actually hit the slide for you. But did you know you can actually HK slap Glocks? I'll even show you on the 19 here. So slide back, bam. In fact, we'll give it a little scenario. Oh no, I'm out. Boom, HK slap. So 19 mags are good. 19X, I am waiting for the silicone to work on those. These I'm just going to hit with some silicone droplets right on that puncture valve there. Let them hang upside down for a little bit. Oh, bitch, get out the way. Or not. There we go. Yep, CO2 is empty on this one. We're going to go ahead and undo. Dirty along the inside. We're going to give that a quick little clean. Airsoft Innovations silicone droplets. Very, very handy. Let that sit upside down. Nope. You don't get to fall over. I didn't give you permission. Hey, I actually brought this in from the shop. It is the M&P 40 Smith & Wesson. I realized I said that wrong. Let me try again. The Smith & Wesson M&P 40. So we're just going to go ahead and use that as a drop right there. And then I will get all of the what? Oh, I remember now. So this is my spare parts magazine. So I'm missing a couple of the screws inside there for the base plate, as well as the follower back here. Totally forgot that I had that. Whoops. Anyway. All right, magazines are prepped for tomorrow. All of my pistols are cleaned. And I have one that is in the process of getting fixed for more parts. Guys, this is going to be the end of the stream. Thank you again so much for staying to the end here, staying with me, hanging out. I had a lot of fun. I hope you guys did as well. Future, I'm going to have some more streams. Watch Facebook, watch Instagram, Airsoft C3. Watch here. If you guys can, subscribe. Tell your friends to come check me out as well, because I really would like to have some help here, during these Corona times, getting my subscribers up a little bit more. If you guys do need anything, feel free to check out the website, www.theairsoftheadquarters.com. We're going to have everything besides CO2 and green gas to ship to you guys, because that's hazard shipping, and we don't have hazard shipping. But if you guys need any sort of gas system. Wow, can I not take this off now? Or am I twisting the wrong direction? I just can't take it off. So any of the propane adapters we're going to have at the shop. So you can at least use camping propane from Walmart, Lowe's, stuff like that if you need green gas.
any sort of accessories, rifles, pistols, extra magazines, stuff like that, go ahead and check our website out. If you don't see anything, hit us up via an email, message on Facebook or Instagram, and we'll get to you the best we can. As guys, thank you again once more, and stay tuned for the next live stream. As always, stay safe, stay clean, and stay away from that coronavirus. You guys take care. Have a good rest of your night. Bye.